Hello, this video is going to be an ombre for a teacher gift for a certain teacher that likes a certain football team. So I've already got way too much epoxy blended, mixed, not blended, that would be highly bubbly. I mixed a lot because I want to make a coaster, at least the part of a coaster. Probably won't end up with a full cavity, but that's okay. So the top, I'm going to use 24 karat, which is a really gold, like intense gold. And then I have a matching vinyl for it. And then for the bottom, I'm going to use a blend of Skellington and White Wedding. Both of these are from Franz. Actually, all of these are from franzglitterandmore.com. I am not endorsed by her in any way. I just love the way she runs her business and what she offers. So since Skellington under epoxy is not glittery or shiny or sparkly, I've got White Wedding mixed in because then it gives us this sparkly effect versus no sparkle. And they wanted sparkle. So sometimes people don't want a ton of sparkle. They just want kind of that textured look, and that's okay. So I've actually already mixed this. A long time ago, I started a box shaker of just those two. So I'm going to put a thin layer of epoxy on here, not thick because it will take a lot more glitter to fill it in, because the epoxy will just soak up that glitter, and then you'll get oil slicky spots or dull flat spots all over. So let me get all of that ready. I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got this mixed. No little slick spots in there, so that's how we know it's thoroughly mixed. And I had this in front of my heat lamp, so it's very runny. Make sure you've got something underneath your work surface. Oh my gosh, that just went right inside the lid. Make sure you have something underneath the surface you're working on, just because it can drip and dry and it'll pop off. But if it's a surface that actually matters, like your kitchen table or your kitchen counters or anything like that, you may not want that. So I'm just putting a layer on here, and then I'm going to go and kind of squeegee it off in a minute. But I want it on here a little thicker for the moment. So I went ahead and base painted with my two colors. I think it's like canary and black. I don't even remember exactly what color it was because it's been a couple days. But I just kind of halfway did an ombre on the spray paint just to make it a little bit easier on what I'll be blending on top of it. I try not to do a white base paint if I've got a colored glitter, just because if it peekaboos through, or if I've got a spot that's a little less coverage than another because my epoxy was a little too thin or whatever, it just kind of gives me that backup. So now I'm just sliding this down, kind of thinning that out on top. I haven't done a highly contrasting color ombre in quite some time. So we're going to see how this plays out. It may be a total fail, and I'm okay with that. If it does, I'll probably just throw some alcohol ink over it, or I've been wanting to try out the new Galaxy method where it just looks like there's clouds swirled on top. We'll see. But if it doesn't work out, that's all right. We've got a backup plan. So once we're done with this, I'm going to let the epoxy sit off to the side, because that way I can make another coaster. I already did the one for my coworker. Now I'm just kind of gearing up for a craft show. And any of those things that I can have on my table for a couple bucks, it'll kind of offset the people that want something kind of cool and different for a gift or a stocking stuffer or a coworker or just something for themselves. It's kind of nice to have those couple dollar items, because not everybody can afford a $25 to $45 tumbler or more. Some tumbler makers are up in the 60s and 70s because they are amazingly good at it. I am not that person. I've only been doing this for about a year, and I've done a few dozen cups by now, but I am nowhere near an expert, and I don't claim to be. I just hope these videos at least help somebody in kind of my same situation where, you know, you just want to do a little something, but you don't necessarily want to be the best in the business, but you want to make a little extra dollars, a few extra dollars, I can't talk. Or if you want to be able to make gifts for people without spending the money, but it looks like you did. That was the whole reason I started doing this last year, is because I wanted to give something to my kids' teachers. They are amazing. They're incredibly patient with my son, and they give my daughter every opportunity to succeed in the Gifted and Talented program. It's so great. So that's on there pretty good. I've got a nice thin layer. I'm gonna let it sit for a second and watch for any dry spots, like fish eyes, so to speak, as these bubbles pop. I've got it just a teeny bit thicker right here because that's where I'm gonna go doubled. So when I'm going this way and then I'm going that way, I wanna make sure I have just a little bit of extra epoxy there because I feel like I do better there with that combo. And I definitely always do that for my chunkies, but this is not a chunky, but I'm gonna do that same technique anyways. So we're gonna let that spin for just a second. Keep an eye out for any dry spots, especially pay attention to the bottom rim there and the top rim here. It's so easy for everything to kind of just pull away from there. But that looks pretty good. So I'm going to take this glove off. My nail polish looks horrific right now because I've been playing with the chickens today. So we're gonna put our tray there because we're gonna catch the fall off. And here we go. So I'm gonna glitter to about right here, and I'm gonna glitter to about right there, and then I'm gonna kind of overlap them slowly but surely. A huge drip in there. One thing that will help you with your cleanup in the end of all of this, try to keep it out of the inside of your rim. If you get it in there, just go ahead and clean it off. Just wipe it out with your finger, paper towel, whatever. It makes it so much easier when you're trying to final prep these things to not have to scrape all that out of the inside. So we're just gonna go nice and thick right there, catching it here with our tray so that we can reuse the fall off. I won't try and salvage the fall off of the blended area right here. I don't know if you can see it, but at the bottom of that band of color, you can kind of see how it looks flatter right there, just a little bit. That's how you can tell that your glitter is not thick enough right there. It's just kind of soaked into the epoxy right there. So I just like to let it rotate around, kind of overlap. Kind of like when you're mowing a yard, you just overlap a little bit, kind of keep from missing any spots, and it kind of helps fill in the spots that maybe have soaked in already. After you get a little ways down, you can go back up to the top and go ahead and address the parts that need a little bit more, like right there was one. Almost done. So right about there is a good stopping point, because in a minute, after I get my black to about right here, I'm going to go a little bit of black and then a little bit of gold and kind of overlap them. And that's why I'm not going to worry about trying to catch the fall off, because there's probably going to be some cross-contamination, so to speak. But just any spots, you can kind of see some of the area looks a little darker. I think I keep hitting the tripod with this tray. Every once in a while you see a little darker spot here and there. Definitely go over it again with the glitter Doesn't hurt to go thick with this or heavy-handed, because you can put all of that back in, because nothing is going to fall off that has epoxy on it. It's basically like glue. Almost done. Just kind of watching it turn over, turn around again. Yeah, that looks pretty good. All right, so that's what I'm gonna stop at right now for that. And then for the bottom, I've got to go a little easier on it. I can't go quite as heavy-handed, because since I blended this myself, it's gonna be more of a pain in the butt to go back and put it back in the container, shake it back out, or try and spatula out of there. So I'm just putting that part on the bottom first, and then I'll work my way up, and then I'll do the bottom. It looks like it has a lot of white in it right now. This particular glitter is pretty translucent, so by the time it's all said and done, I'm hardly gonna, it's gonna be sparkle and not white, which is kind of nice. I have another white that has kind of green and pink and blue and yellow shifts in it. It's super cute. It just didn't quite match up with what we were aiming for with this particular tumbler. This spout on this thing, or the hole on that thing being triangular, is making it really weird. It's making it kind of jaggedy right there where I had the smoother, softer there. So I'm going to take this lid off, make it a little easier. I'm just going to do that. Make sure and catch your fall off, because you can use it. I like to keep my little spatulas handy that came with my Cricut kit. Well, they didn't come with it, I bought them. But they're typically used for when you're working with your vinyl on your Cricut. You can tell I use mine a lot. It's covered in epoxy and little flecks of glitter. They're stuck on there. So if I don't really feel like trying to scoop it back in right away, do that. This is also how I do my bottom. I kind of fling it, kind of like that. Just kind of like you're pitching hay if you're country. Definitely pay attention if your epoxy separated somewhere, and we want to make sure that we have the slick spots recovered. It's really easy to kind of neglect the bottom. And some people don't even bother doing the bottom at all. They just tape off their edges, and they have an exposed rim, top and bottom. Just personal preference. I personally don't like doing that. I don't care for the extra steps, and I kind of don't like the way it looks, but that's just my personal preference. You do whatever makes you happy and whatever is going to sell in your area, because for some reason some stuff sells better in some areas than others. Like being in Texas, the heifer cups are going to sell a whole lot better than they will in other areas that don't really have as much, maybe farm life or 4-H available, or that kind of reasoning. All right, so now I'm going to start working my way up here. I'm just wanting my ombre to go a little higher. I didn't want it right on the line, but I'm about to start getting a little softer with it. And we got a slick spot right there. It is entirely possible that I did not mix enough of this. Maybe cutting it close. Just kind of sprinkling it. Not super solid. I'm not trying to anyway. Some of it's kind of sprinkling off a little bit more solid than others. I'm going to go this other angle now. I'm going to catch that little dip right there and right there when it comes back around. Ah! A little bit more intense than I meant. Shake off a little extra so we have a little bit more to play with here. All right, that's good. All right, so now I'm going to take my gold and put the shaker lid back on it. Oh, actually, before that, let's touch up these flat spots right here. Kind of flung that one a little hard. I almost kind of want to make the sound that the Swedish chef on Muppets makes whenever I'm doing this. I feel like that's kind of what he does when he's cooking. All right, that's pretty good. So we'll set that aside, and then we're going to put the shaker back on here. I'm going to knock off a little bit. Since I need to come down quite a bit, I'm actually going to go ahead and put this back under here for the moment. I also see a few spots that need more glitter, so I'm going to address those first. Okay, so now I'm going to start sprinkling from higher up. It won't be on the camera because where my camera's here, I'm doing it here, so that's not going to work out. So I'm about 8 inches from the cup. It just kind of sprinkles it a little bit more spaced out, I guess is a good enough word. Kind of tap it. And I'm going to have to actually stop and put that glitter back into the shaker. I'm just kind of getting it all over now. I've got some more slick spots forming where I didn't get it quite thin enough there. So I'm going to take a second to put this remainder back in my little shaker, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have this back in here. I'm pretty certain that I'm still gonna have to mix up some more. We'll see. I may have to stop the video again in just a minute. It is pretty thick right there. If I have to stop and mix more, I'll probably go ahead and take that opportunity to mix up my coaster epoxy glitter combo. Okay, so I'm up to the point where I stopped there. So now I'm going to go over that gold right there. I think I've got enough. Again, I'm from really high up. We're going to go back over it with gold in just a minute. So it's okay if you see through it. There's a random piece of red right in the middle of all that. Good grief. So we're just kind of going up onto the gold, nice and thin. That's where using this shaker part really makes a difference. Earlier I had the lids off, or with the pour spout open, with the glitter spout shut. Just like that. Turned out pretty decent. This video is only going to be this part. It's not going to be the epoxy and all of that, because that's the same as the other videos, so that's kind of redundant, kind of pointless to repeat all of that. So I'm going to go back to the 24 karat and kind of sprinkle. I'm not going to bother trying to catch this because I know that I've got some loose black combo, but I definitely have some spots on here that are needing some more attention. So I'm just kind of sprinkling a little bit, really thin, really light over the black. That's a pretty decent ombre there. I definitely still have a lot of, ooh, I almost hit my cup. That would have been bad. All right, so I'm just gonna go back over the spots that aren't near my ombre, that I'm not worried about falling off, ruining this whole batch of fall off. So I'm just kind of going back over those kind of slicker spots. I love this spatula. It's just so multifunctional. I love it. Constantly picking epoxy off of it. It's great for the chunky mixes because it's great for when you're just patting everything down, like after it's been turning for about 30 minutes. All right, so that's pretty good. I'm just kind of sprinkling a little further down. I hope you can see it on the video. I think you can. All right, so that's all for the gold for sure. Unless I change my mind, of course. That's always a possibility. So I just see a couple more little spots that need to be addressed again. That's something you got to watch for. All right, so I got all the spots. I know for sure I have some more on the bottom. So now I'm just going to lightly sprinkle right back over where I just sprinkled this gold. Just use that shaker part. Have it up. I'm probably 6 inches away. My camera's about a foot above the cup. Okay. It's pretty decent. Kind of see that right there. Not too bad. I haven't done one with a high contrast like this in a while, so I'm glad it didn't turn out horrendous. So I'm just going to address these couple little flat spots again, and then that's it for this one. This video is a short and sweet one. If you have any questions other than my sanity, drop a comment. I'll be checking that periodically, and hopefully I can help. I'm not a pro, like I said. I'm not claiming to be a pro. Just trying to share what I have figured out as I've gone along doing this. And I actually just saw a dark spot, so I gotta get this ready. I missed it. That's definitely something to be on the lookout for, because that can make a beautiful cup have this glaring mistake if your epoxy is super thick in one spot. And I definitely did not squeegee that off as good as I could have or should have. So looks like I just barely made enough. This is practically empty. So that is it for this video. Again, if you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to leave it at the bottom. And subscribe to my channel. I'll be uploading videos as frequently as I can handle it. I've got a full-time job, 14 chickens and 2 ducks that take up a lot of my time as well. And then 2 kids, a husband, and a dog. So I'll be trying to get back onto the videos pretty frequently at least until I get a pretty good base. Have a great one.